If you look at the history of Webster and the conference championships that we've been able to win through the years, you often think back about some of the first and early days of Webster athletics. When I think of the Webster story that comes to my mind as it relates to the athletic department, I'm reminded of 1994. It was the time when the athletic department at Webster was just starting to turn around a little bit, and we were in a position where we needed to maintain our NCAA eligibility by offering 4 sports for men and 4 sports for women. And at the time, cross country was one of our sports for women, and it was a difficult opportunity for us to get students to run. We didn't have track and field, and they just had to find a way to find people that loved running. Our cross country team was made up in part by quite a few students from other teams, basketball players in particular. And this team had 2 students that come to mind are Jill Zimmerman and Debbie Eidman, who were basketball players who were asked to run cross country so that the department and the team could maintain and satisfy NCAA requirements, which were you had to run 5 races and you had to have 5 people at those races. So this was our 5th and final race of the year to satisfy NCAA requirements. Unfortunately, Debbie, who was an education major, had a certification test to become a teacher that she needed to take. The race was supposed to start at 10 o'clock. There was no Debbie, and students are lining up on the start line for the race, and there's no Debbie. And we talked to the organizer of the race to see if they could put it off a little bit, and they helped us for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but basically said, you know, the show's got to go on. We got to start this race. So, right about that time, when the organizer of the race told us that they couldn't delay it any longer, this car comes zipping down the parking lot, and out hops Debbie Eidman, fresh from her test, and Debbie starts putting on shoes and she already has her Webster uniform on, and she's trying to hop on one foot and put on shoes with the other. She makes her way to the starting line, and of course by now the whole race is ahead of her by about 1.5 minutes, and Debbie was able to catch up to a couple of the runners, and the important thing was that she was able to ultimately finish the race, which gave us 5 runners for 5 races. And I always think back on that effort that Debbie gave us that morning, because later that day our volleyball team won their first conference championship over at Fontbonne, and I often look at that day as a continuum of the old Webster, which was, do we even have enough people to compete, to the new Webster, which was winning conference championships. I've always felt that was kind of like a transition for Webster athletics that day back in the early 90s.